There is a lot of information. There's no way that we can digest it all. We will wait for the CDC and the Public Health Department, the State Health Department to give us guidance. I don't think the world's going to end, over the next year or two.
Well, I don't see this.
And we listen to those things. I mean, we don't want to stick our head in the sand and ignore the scientific community. If the preponderance of the scientific community arrives at the fact that we shouldn't be fluoridated, then obviously we'll stop. Right now,
it's slowly happening. If you have not been aware, it's slowly happening. You mentioned medicine. Medicines do come with warnings, and they are prescribed in individual doses.
Well,
if I took this toothpaste and put it in your water, you could charge me with criminal assault.
I could, but I wouldn't.
But you could, because it would be assault.
Well, so that's an extreme example.
This is poison. It says right on there it's poison.
Well, and let me tell you something. Go back to the earliest medical community. Go back to the Greeks, and they'll tell you the fundamental of medicine and science is it's all about the dosage. It's all about the dosage. We could put enough chlorine in the water to kill you.
I understand.
We could put enough
potassium
permanganate in the water to kill you.
I understand that too. This is a cumulative. DDT used to be sprayed on school children.
Anecdotally though, I've known hundreds of 90-year-olds in Anniston that have been drinking our tap water for over 50 years in Florida.
Bless your soul. There was another contaminant in this town that went on for years and years, and people knew about it and didn't do anything.
It went on prior to the invention of the EPA rating, prior to 1970.
The fact is people knew about it and
but that's not a fair comparison.
Well,
and frankly, it is a suspected carcinogen. It's never been proven that it's carcinogenic. There's not one study that shows definitive.
Look into the studies that fluoride is carcinogenic. Or you can ignore them.
I'm going to go, okay. And I'm going to recommend the board by the direction of people who have the money and the staff and the scientific community. Because I am a scientist. I'm a degreed scientist. And I go by proof. I don't go by wild accusations and taking half-truths. And that's what the Fluoride Action Network is all about, in my opinion.
I'm sorry you feel that way because they are backed up by medical reviews.
Well, and I'm hearing State Health Department officials, the CDC, and a lot of other people that are backed up by studies too. That's what goes on in the scientific community. That's what that's what goes on with every debate. There was a debate like this with the Salk vaccine. There was a debate like this with penicillin. All kinds of debate in the science. Eventually, they get it right, and we get guidance about what to do. And that's what we're waiting for. I'm not going to go out there.
It's slowly happening. It is slowly happening. I mean, how many years did the world think the world was flat?
Well, and Galileo got thrown in jail for it. But that's another extreme.
I know it's an extreme, but this is pretty extreme too. It affects every living person in the world.
Seriously,
All right. Well, I appreciate your time.
You bring me a person. We don't have. Show me a documented case of dental fluorosis in Ashton.
In Ashton?
Because I've talked to the dentist. They never see any fluorosis.
They don't.
Here.
Okay. Documented case.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just do that to give you the benefit of the doubt. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't go by your word. You're not a scientist. You're not a part of the medical community. Thank you, Mr. O'Dell. I have to go by people who have credentials and who have done the research. I have an obligation to about 85,000 people to do that. We take our work very seriously, and we go by the established medical community. Eventually, if they're wrong, they will change, and so will we. But until then...
Just one more question. When you say established medical community, do you mean the ADA
I'm talking about the ADA is part of that, but I'm talking about the CDC, I'm talking about ADEM, I'm talking about the State Health Department, I'm talking about the U.S. Health Department. Encourage us to fluoridate. We get awards for fluoridating. When that changes, we'll change. We're listening and we're hearing, but we have to have something more than just one person's concern to act on. Out there, and I understand that, and you know, and it's not. I don't mean to be critical, because this is where change starts. It's a roots movement, and I understand that. But no, I still have a deep movement that accepted scientific community says is the way to go. You know, there are people out there who want us to quit using chlorine. You know, it's a disinfectant. It's a disinfectant. You take chlorine out of the water, there are other ways of doing it now. But chlorine probably saved more lives than penicillin and the salt vaccine and everything else put together. We eliminated the 5 leading causes of death. Study 48 in the United States. Now the average lifespan is approaching 80. You take out gun and knife bites, it's probably 85. So obviously we're doing something right. And the cancer rate's been dropping for 10 years. So, you know, there's a lot to digest here. And we're listening, but we have to listen to everybody.
I hope you do listen to everybody. That's the point I was trying to get to.
We take our obligation for public health, and we are public health people. We take that very seriously.
How do I find out?
I've been in this business 38 years. Ask the dentist.
Well, I was going to say, how do I find out the actual source of what's going in my water?
We can tell you the source. It comes from a plant in Florida. You were wrong when you said it's not tested. It's tested by the UL. It's UL listed, which means they go down occasionally. I don't know what the frequency is, and they take samples. There are trace elements in it, but once they're diluted with 13.5 million gallons of water a day, they're barely detectable.
But they're still in there.
They're still in there. But the water that comes out from time to time, yes. There again, it's a dosage. We have limits for all those things you just named. And the research has been done that says you can ingest those in these levels for 30 years without any health effects. You can ingest those in these levels for 30 years without any health effects. That's how the minimum or the maximum contaminant levels in that list, that's how those are arrived at.
So what happens after 30 years?
Well,
I'm 47.
There again, I don't set those standards. That's set by the medical community and the scientific community.
But you see where I'm put. I mean, I see your side, and I just.
Yeah, but here's the fallacy in all that. If we took that line of approach, you couldn't drink water here. You couldn't drink water in the United States. Not with any kind, because there is no water source that doesn't have some trace minerals and trace elements in it. That's natural. You know, we can't provide you pure water. You talk about distilled water, that's the only way to get you everything out of there. So thousands of hours, years of research have been done on each one of those to see what a safe level of consumption is. And if they get outside those safe levels, then we have to treat them. But we've never had an exceedance of an MCL. And we've been in this business. Of course, the MCL has only been around since 1970. But we've been in the water business here for 135 years. And most of that has been from that water source. So we have very strict guidelines that we operate under. And all those elements listed in that consumer confidence form, we have to repeatedly test for them. A lot of them daily. Some of them weekly, some of them monthly, some of them quarterly, some of them semi-annually, some of them annually. That's all established in the Safe Drinking Water Act. It's what we operate on. On the drinking water side. On the sewer side, we operate under the Clean Water Act. And that's what we discharge back into nature. So there's a whole community of people, and believe me, EPA would love to catch us exceeding one of those. So we're very careful about all that.
Yeah, I understand all the regulations on it. And then you said this is tested, the stuff that comes from Florida?
I checked with our supplier after you and I talked initially. Exchanged letters, in fact. I checked with our supplier. They sent me the UL listing numbers, and I researched it on the internet, and that's legitimate.
So can I get a copy of what is exactly in that?
You can go on the internet and find it. Now it won't be, they don't test every batch, obviously. That's not doable. They don't test every batch of chlorine that we get either, or every batch of potassium permanganate or all the other, but they test representative samples. Again, the scientific community has determined that that's an adequate test. If you tried to have everything perfect, you simply wouldn't be able to eat food or drink water. That's not possible. So there are...
But to purposely put something in the water that does no good for the teeth.
Listen, we didn't just arbitrarily decide to start adding fluoride. This community told us 50 years ago to start adding fluoride.
I don't know what's happened in 50 years.
Well, sure.
I just would appreciate if you would at least look over that stuff. There may be, like I said, a lot of it is recent and you may not be aware of all of it. I'm sure you're aware of most of it.
What'll happen is if these are credible in the scientific community, it's like going into a huge meal, and that'll get milled around in there. They'll do papers and they'll argue their side. They'll do studies. This goes on, and then at the end they'll shoot out some kind of guidance. It's probably going to be the right thing to do. That's what we'll listen to, because I can't research all this. I mean, I'm not qualified to research this. I've got 3 degrees, and I can't research this stuff. We're going to have to rely on the people who you and I collectively pay to do that for us. But I will look it over. And I've had 2 other customers discuss fluoride over the years. Yeah, 38 years, you and 2 others.